Dan RadioStyle. Hope everybody out there's having themselves a great day. Being defeated easily. This kind of came up in a coaching session I had recently. And I actually realized this is something that I think is a bit more common for many of us. I think it manifests itself in a few different ways. I'm going to try to cover some of them. But it's kind of the overall concept that really matters, right? So maybe I don't cover your specific exact situation, but hopefully something that's similar enough that kind of helps you look at what's happening a little differently in your life. So let's start off kind of where I think some of this starts to happen. A lot of us like to get to be affirmed, to get some sort of pat on the back sometimes, to get that, hey, you're doing a good job. Great example, maybe we're dieting, right? And when you're dieting, it's one thing to, be losing weight and working hard and going to the gym and all that, and to look in the mirror and be like, yeah, I look okay. But when somebody says, hey, you look great, have you lost weight? Bam! You got that affirmation. You got that confirmation. You got help from the universe telling you that, dude, what you're doing's working. Keep it up. Sometimes, some of us, and I think this is where sometimes we manifest signs for the same reason. And again, I say manifest signs. It's one thing to manifest what you're after, and I've done videos on it, signs and meaning. I just did it not long ago, so look at my videos, and you can find that's probably, 12, 15 videos ago maybe. But a lot of us will try to manifest signs to show we're on the right track, to show that they love us, to show that they're thinking about us. The way that manifesting works is you focus on what it is that you would like to experience. Maybe in the case of a boyfriend or something like that, you focus on being with them, you focus on being with that person, you focus on time spent, you live in the end, right? That whole thing, you're imagining it with all your senses, put a lot of time and effort. Maybe you're vision boarding, maybe you're writing it out, maybe you're designing your own story, you're acting as if you're living in the end. I think I've said some of those already more than once, right? All these different scenarios that exist out there. And when you do those, when you focus on where you're trying to go, you will get signs or you will get indications of the direction you're heading. Those are great. And those are also attaboys or pats on the back as well. But a lot of us, I feel like, try really hard to manifest signs to tell us we're right on track. And if you're manifesting something to say something, you're not really manifesting anything. I mean, you're manifesting a butterfly, or you're manifesting a license plate number, or you're manifesting something. But ultimately, you're asking for something to show you something else, which is really supposed to be an indication of the thing that you desire. Right? Like, I desire to be with so-and-so, so show me a red butterfly to say that so-and-so is thinking about me. Well, focus on being with so-and-so, and you may not see the butterfly per se, but you'll probably see license plates, you'll probably see his birthday, you'll probably see different things that will pop up. You'll see his name, right? Or maybe Crazy Dan throws his name out there. I get that a lot in comments. I love that when I just make up names, and people are like, you said my SP's name. Of course, I do it on purpose. I question many of you every day, and I'm like, what is your SP's name? So I can use that made-up name and make it seem like it's for you. I'm kidding, of course. It's not how it works. So reinforcement's something that's kind of dangerous just in its own right, and it kind of comes from lack of confidence, maybe lack of self-worth, maybe lack of faith. Could just come back from, a lot of us, maybe parents didn't appreciate, right, what you were trying to do, so you were constantly trying to, get their attention, or right, there's a whole slew of ways that this can start to happen. Now, my point is sometimes we don't get that confirmation. We don't get that attaboy. We don't get that good job. And because of that, we feel cheated. We feel defeated. We feel like we're not even manifesting what I desire. And we start getting frustrated and want to give up. And the example I was using with the gentleman that I was coaching, because I knew he was into working out, and I knew a mutual friend of ours that's into the working out, and that's how they knew each other. So I'm like, all right, let's go down the workout path for an analogy. So I'm going to borrow that same analogy here. And I asked him, I said, what's your max in your bench press? And I think he said, like 180 or something like that, which is pretty damn good, frankly. I don't even know if I could do that, and I try really hard. But I'm like, 180. I'm like, all right, cool. I said, so if I was to say, hey, could you get your max bench up to 225. That's a big jump, by the way. That's a significant jump. And he's like, I guess I'd have to really start training. I'd have to start really trying to do maxes and have to work out. I'd have to get our mutual friend to start spotting me. He starts going through it, and I'm like, okay, cool. So I said, you start moving down that path. And I said, the very first time you try to push up 185, 5 pounds over where your current max is, and certainly way the hell lower than the max that you're shooting for. 5 pounds more. I said, what happens if you try to push that up and you can't? And he goes, I'd probably be pretty defeated. And I said, see? And that's where the problem is. I go, the reason you weren't able to push up 185, maybe you didn't eat well that day, maybe you didn't sleep well, maybe you're stressed. Maybe there's a number of things that can come into play when we look at our right now and say, but it's not there. It's not tomorrow. It's not that thing that's out there that I'm trying to manifest. I don't have this right now, so it obviously isn't working. And that is absolutely flawed logic. There's no part of that logic that's even remotely true. The fact that he didn't push up 185 pounds when he tried has no bearing whatsoever on whether or not 6 months from now, a year from now, whatever, he'll be able to push up 225. Has zero bearing on it whatsoever. That is like, and I love using the analogy, and people seem to get along with it, but like I'm going to drive to Disneyland, right? And the trip to Disneyland from my house to Disneyland, I don't know, it's roughly, with no traffic or minimal traffic, it'd probably take me 20 minutes to get there. That's probably about right. 20, 25 minutes to get there. That's actually to the parking. Boom, I'm there, waiting for a tram now. So in 25 minutes, that's how long it takes you to get there. That's where my destination is. That's what I'm focusing on. Well, along the journey, there's a toll road I got to take. Then I hop onto a freeway. Then I drive up the freeway. Then I get off at Catella. Then I, take some crazy following signs and all that. At any one point during this journey, do I look at where I'm at right now and say, I'll never get to Disneyland? No, of course I'm getting to Disneyland. It's part of the process. It's an evolution. Yes, it's not right this second, and it's not necessarily going to be. It's a progression. You stay focused on where you're trying to go. I'm trying to get to Disneyland. I'm going to pop it in my navigation if I'm not sure, but long story short, even that I've got to kind of follow. I'm like, ooh, the line goes all the way up. I'm going to scroll out so I can even see where I'm going. And to my point, I'm not doubting it every step of the way. I know I'm going to get there. Why do I know that? Because there's very assured practices that will get me to the location that I'm trying to get to. Law of attraction is the same way. Successful people use it. They call it different things, but basically stayed focused on the goal and they accomplished their goal. I've done it countless times, and many, many, many other people that listen and watch and all that have done different manifestations countless times. You use the same practices when you're trying to manifest love or a person or more money or a new job. You're using the same practices, the same principles. And as I've said many, many times, staring at where you're at right now and somehow using that as a judge of your efficacy, your efficiency, your abilities, your accuracy, your whether the universe supports this or not, or this, that, and the other thing is erroneous. It's absolutely untrue. It's like judging, to get to my house, I've got to maybe drive through a different neighborhood that maybe doesn't have as nice of houses. It's like saying, well, your house must be crap. And it's like, why? And it's like, well, because look at this neighborhood. I'm like, yeah, I don't live in this neighborhood. So? It's where we're at right now. Huh? No. My neighborhood's a little further down, and it's nicer than this one. I'm sorry to say, but it is. Looking at our right now to describe what is our tomorrow is not right. It's incorrect. You are using law of attraction principles because you're trying to create something that you don't currently have. So in order to use what you don't have right now as a means of describing what you're not going to have in the future is absurd. Absolutely. So you keep on the practice. You keep focusing on where you're going. You don't let these little minor setbacks slow you down. Third party, for an example. Why is a third party? Well, the person that you're imagining being with, this, as we've talked about with Neville Goddard, you're imagining being with the person that's single. Obviously, right? If they've got a boyfriend right now or girlfriend right now, okay, well, they're not single right now. Okay. So you obviously aren't going to date them right now. That can't happen. That would be weird. And if it did happen, then there's some self-love stuff we need to talk about, because if you're a second person in a relationship or one person's dating two of you, that kind of isn't necessarily helping you out either. It's kind of like friends with benefits, right? When you give them all the goods without really making them kind of get into the relationship and enjoy the relationship, well, you're giving away like they call it, why would I buy the cow if I can get the milk for free, right? It's that concept. It's that, not that I'm saying anyone's cows, or milk for that matter, because who knows what could offend. Right? It could be, I am not milk. Well, of course you're not. You're more of a orange juice kind of person. But that being said, a lot of this has to do with where we're trying to go, what we're trying to get to, and making sure we stay on course, no matter what our present circumstances might show us. Yes, sometimes your present circumstances are going to line up with where you're going. You're going to see indications. You're going to see signs. That's great. And sometimes you're going to get some interesting signs that maybe don't suggest you're heading in the right direction. Well, pay attention to the signs. I've talked about contrast as your friend. Contrast will help show you the way. So if you're experiencing contrast a lot, if you're trying to manifest something and you're seeing a lot of contrast, it's a good time to take stock in what have you been thinking about? What have you been focusing on? Have you been focused on your current reality? Because I've said it before, if I'm focusing on my current reality, focus-based universe, I'm creating more of what I already have. So yes, you will start to get indications that what you currently have is what you're going to have tomorrow. And if what you currently have is nothing, strong chance tomorrow's looking equally bleak. I was going to say bleary. I don't even think that's a word. I'm quite sure it's not, in fact. So by focusing on your right now, you create more of your right now. By focusing on what it is that you would like to experience, this person that's single and is interested in being with you and is going to be with you and is with you, well, when you're imagining it, obviously they're with you, right? When we imagine that, we're going to start seeing, interestingly enough, we're going to start to see indications that are going to point towards that future. Now, again, we could be doubting things. That's going to throw some wrenches in the works, because while I'm having a doubt cycle, I'm thinking of doubtful thoughts. So right now, when I'm having a doubt cycle, my focus is on things that are basically fear-based or basically not believing in what's going on. And so, again, creating more of that. What I've told in a lot of cases, when you have a contrast moment, people are like, well, how do I stop it? How do I fix it? It's like, you don't need to fix it. And you certainly don't want to try to stop it. Anything you try to stop, you're creating more of. Take the contrast, enjoy the contrast, notice what it is saying, and then take a quick little retrospective look at yourself. What have I been doing recently? And if you find that, my thoughts have been good and great and everything like that, well, as Neil Donald Walsh talks about, sometimes when you first start trying to manifest something that you don't have, you actually kind of manifest the opposite of it first. You manifest the contrast, which really just helps, again, solidify what it is you want. You're like, I'm trying to get more love in my life. And then instantly you're finding all these haters. You're like, am I doing this? And it's like, no. Look at the haters and go, yeah, it's definitely not what I'm looking for. Focus back on the love. Use it for what it is. Don't try to change it. Embrace it. Love it. You knucklehead. Love it. But realize it's just showing you something. It's not your reality. It's not in stone. And you can always change your mind. So again, if you're strailing off the course, I'm making up all sorts of words today. If you're traveling off the course, then you're likely going to see some interesting, weird things. Try to stay focused on where you're going. Understand that there's increments, that sometimes it's going to feel like you just took a running leap, and other times it feels like I just took 2 steps back. There was a great analogy made one time, and I want to say it was Dan Millman, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm pretty sure it was him. And he talked about how, like, it always feels like, I feel like I'm taking 2 steps, 1 step forward, 2 steps back. And the point is sometimes when it feels like we're taking steps back, it's only because we need to make a running leap to get to the next spot. So sometimes a step isn't enough. Sometimes we take a couple back, take in the scenery, and then charge forward again. It's okay when it happens. It's when we freak out. It's when we give it so much power. When we look at it and go, it's ruining everything. That is when you fail. It is that moment. It's not the contrast thought. It's not what you just experienced. It's focusing on it. It's realizing that this is somehow more important than me focusing on what I'd like to experience. So do we take these small little moments and let them ruin our whole day? Remember, manifesting is an issue of bringing something into your space and your time, okay? If it's not in your space and your time right now when you're doing the manifesting, then it's coming. That's why we manifest this place where it exists. And we're traveling towards that place, that space and time, and they, if it's a love situation or a work situation, whatever, they're traveling there too to meet you. You're meeting in that location together. It's a journey. So maybe tomorrow you get there, maybe next week you get there, maybe next month you get there, maybe next year, 5 years, 10 years. I don't know. And obviously, if it's taking a very long time, there's factors that come into play. There's a lot of questions you're going to ask. We're not talking about that in this particular show. But what I am talking about is the majority of you that are working down a path that's actually going to come to fruition, probably sooner than later, and just requires you to stay focused on the destination, stay focused on the desire, stay focused on that thing that you want, and stop letting the things that don't seem like they're working out ruin your day. They're not. They're good. They're part of this process. Again, if you're having negative thoughts and then now you're starting to see negative things, fix your thoughts. If you're having awesome thoughts and you're getting weird negative things, that's just contrast. It's okay. Yeah, I don't want any more of that. That sucks. That's why I'm going to be with her. That's why I'm going to this place. And believe it or not, sometimes you'll get awesome indications that you're heading to that place. Again, don't look at your feet. Yeah, you just got a bitch and sign. Don't stop and go, what does that mean? What does it mean now that I got this sign? Again, now you're staring at your feet. Stay focused where you're going. You got an indication that everything's lining up and heading in that direction. Don't get lost in if it's got meaning or not. So many of us do that. What does that mean? What do you mean, what does that mean? What does that mean? It means nothing. It means what you decide it means. It doesn't mean anything. You've been focusing on this thing, and you got an indication that shows that thing is in your future. It's an indication. A sign, indication, it's showing you where you're going. And again, stay focused on the destination, on where you're heading. Even in good signs, even in bad signs, stay focused on where you're going. Don't get lost about the fact that I'm only trying to push up 5 more pounds than my max that I had a month ago. I've been training hard. Why couldn't I push up this 5? It's okay. Try again next week. It's all right. Maybe next week you'll be pissed and you'll actually get in there and you'll have eaten right and you did your protein drinks. You got an energy drink in you. Maybe you did one of those 5-hour energies for some crazy reason so you don't, so you get a heart attack while you're working out. And then you get in there and you're just pissed and you're like, "Ah!" Well, you did it. You did it. Maybe it just took a little anger to spur you in the right direction. It's kind of like riding a horse. Jab them spurs into their side to get them to do what they want. Personally, I think it's mean, but that's part of what gets a horse's attention. They got a lot of muscle and stuff in there, I guess, right? So if you jab them right, again, I can't do that. I hit them with my heels. It's good enough or whatever. I don't know. I'm just not into hurting animals, but I know when you ride horses, I don't know, they're whatever. I don't want to get into whether it hurts or doesn't hurt, but again, it's like, get the attention. Let it ride. Let it take you there. Enjoy the journey. And let's not get hung up on the minutia. Let's not get hung up on the right now. Let's not get hung up on the fact there's a third party. Let's not get hung up on this stuff. Focus on where you're going. For that to happen, which it's going to, whatever doesn't seem like it's right, whatever doesn't seem like it's correct right now, will get resolved. It has to, right? Because this is being created. This reality, if you stay focused on it and don't get lost, is getting created. Give it a chance. Allow it to. Let go of the stuff that keeps trying to hold you back. A lot of us slow ourselves down so much because we're paying attention to right now, right here, the things that aren't right, rather than realizing that the things that aren't right are what are changing. That's part of this. Of course it's not right. That's why you want this other thing. Contrast. Bam! You gotta love it. You really do. And when you can learn to love it, when you can learn to appreciate the thing that's not quite going right and appreciate it for what it is, you are going to be unstoppable when it comes to manifesting. I mean it. I'm not just messing around and blowing hooey up your you-know-what. That's right. hopefully this makes a difference. If you guys like what I've got going on, please subscribe. If you haven't done that, you can hit the little bell icon, make it a ringy dingy, and then anytime I do new videos, it'll push out a notification to you. And also, please comment future show topics. Throw all that stuff in there. I'm pretty good about staying on top of comments. Don't necessarily respond to all of them. I mean, there's a lot of them, but I read them and I check them out, and a lot of good things. So if you got good show topics, throw them in there. It helps a lot. And of course, liking and sharing and all that stuff if you want to support my channel. Some of the best things that you can possibly do. Appreciate each and every one of you. Got more great shows coming your way. Stay on Radio Style.